Hey, welcome. You've definitely heard the term before, right? In movies, in books, a ship is traveling at 10 knots. But have you ever actually stopped to think about how weird that is? A unit of speed named after a tied up piece of rope? Well, today we're going to untangle that little mystery.
So yeah, that's the big question. Why knots? Why not just say, C miles per hour or something that makes a little more sense? It feels like there's a really cool story hiding there in plain sight. And trust me, there is. The answer is just a fantastic piece of old school sailor ingenuity.
To get to the bottom of this, we've got to take a trip back in time, way back. Before GPS, before radar, before pretty much any of the tech we rely on today. We're setting sail on the open ocean, sometime around the 16th century. Okay, I want you to really picture this. You're a sailor on an old wooden ship, and you're hundreds of miles from the nearest shore. You look in every single direction, and all you see is water. There are no trees, no buildings, no signposts flying by to tell you how fast you're moving. So how on earth do you know how fast you're actually going? This was a massive problem. I mean, without any fixed point to measure against, figuring out your speed was just pure guesswork. And when you're navigating, guesswork could literally mean the difference between finding port and being lost at sea forever. They needed a way, a reliable method, and what they came up with was, frankly, brilliant. So, what was this amazing solution? It wasn't some complex machine with a bunch of gears and dials. Nope. It was a simple, incredibly elegant tool that was born from the stuff they just had lying around the ship. A device that would completely change navigation. It was called the chip log, sometimes just the common log. And don't let that simple name fool you for a second. This thing was an absolute game changer. Its entire purpose was to basically create a fake point of reference in the water that they could measure the ship's speed against. And what's so cool is how simple the parts were. You really just had three basic things. First, a piece of wood, the chip that was weighted so it would drag in the water. Second, a really long rope, the log line. And this is the key part. It had knots tied into it at very, very specific regular intervals. And finally, a timer, just a simple sandglass, like an hourglass. That's it. Three everyday items to solve a huge problem. So how did a piece of wood, a rope, and some sand in a glass actually measure speed? Well, the process itself became a regular ritual on the ship. It was called heaving the log, and it was just a masterpiece of practical, on-the-fly physics. Okay, let's walk through it. A sailor would take that wooden ship and just toss it into the water off the back of the ship. Because it was weighted, it acted like a little sea anchor, staying pretty much in the same spot while the ship sailed away from it. The second the line started to unspool, another sailor would flip the sandglass over. Then one of them would just stand there, letting the rope run through his hands, and he would count every single knot he felt pass by until all the sand ran out. And right here, this is where it all clicks. This is the aha moment where a physical thing, a simple knot on a rope, transforms into a unit of speed that we are still using centuries later. The key is what that final count actually meant. And here is the absolute genius of the whole system. The number of knots that passed through that sailor's hands in 28 seconds was the ship speed. That's it. No complicated math, no conversion chart. If you counted 8 knots on the rope, the ship was moving at 8 knots. If you counted 10, the speed was 10. It was a perfect one-to-one measurement. So simple. Now, of course, this wasn't just magic or a lucky coincidence. The whole reason it worked is because the system was perfectly calibrated. The distance between each knot on the rope was about 47 feet and 3 inches, and that distance was mathematically designed to work perfectly with the 28-second timer in the sandglass, all to give a direct reading in nautical miles per hour. And that's really the whole story. It's one of the most direct, most literal origins for a unit of measurement you'll ever find. A knot isn't just some abstract idea. It's a direct memory of a physical knot on a rope, being counted by a sailor hundreds of years ago. So, the next time you hear a ship is chugging along at 15 knots, you'll know that term comes from a real, hands-on process. That's pretty cool, right? It kind of makes you wonder, what other stories like this are hiding in the words we use every single day, just waiting for us to figure them out?